So we're going to do a roast now of 12 ounces of Mexico Chiapas. We're going to record it on Artisan. One other feature that the BC-1 does not have is a timer, but you can either use the timer on your phone or you can get a little teeny digital timer. But we're going to do our timing as we keep track of it in Artisan. Plus I'm going to go ahead and put my timer on. So I'm going to hit start, and then I'm going to charge the beans. Kick on the gas, and our airflow is going to be set at about 2, and I'm going to cut down the airflow on the roaster to about 2 just to see how that goes. Let's see if I can put this somewhere where you can still see it. So the beans charged at 391 degrees. Generally, on most of our roasters, you want the turnaround within about a minute and 15 seconds to a minute and 30 seconds. If it's a really large roast or a large roaster, it might be slightly longer, but in most of these smaller roasters, we're only going to do a 3.5 to 6 minute drying phase, and then about a 30% mallard or browning phase, and then maybe a 20% roasting phase from first crack until we drop the beans. On a really light roast, that may be shorter. So our turnaround time was just a little over a minute, and now it's climbing pretty rapidly. Because it's only 12 ounces of coffee in a smaller roaster, this may be a little too much gas flow, so I'm going to turn it down to 1.5 and then just kind of follow it. If you can see over in Artisan, which you may or may not be able to see from the video, the predictive feature in Artisan will tell you approximately, if you keep going at the rate you're going, what it'll be at. So it's telling me I'm going to be at 5 minutes. I'm going to be at about 330 degrees. So I'm okay with that, but I'm also going to keep an eye on that because that predictive feature can change based on a number of factors. Yeah, it's telling me right now that it's still going to be, it's going to be a little sooner than 5 minutes. So I'm going to bump down my gas pressure to 1.25. And I'm also going to keep an eye on my front of my roaster and also checking the dryer spoon. Because if there's a lot of chaff in the beans, which there is a little bit, I might bump up my airflow. I bumped it up to about 3. In the early stages of a roast, if you bump your airflow up too fast and your gas is not real high, it can slow down the rate of rise. In this case, it has slowed it down a little bit, but that's okay because we're still getting to where it looks like we're going to hit 320 degrees, perhaps in less than 5 minutes, or right at about 5 minutes. I'm going to check my beans again. I'm going to check the chaff content in case I need to turn up the airflow. There's a little bit of chaff in there. I'm going to bump it up just a little bit, maybe to 3.5. And here we are, we're at 305 degrees at about 4.5 minutes. So we're going to be right around that 5.5 minute mark when we hit 320. In fact, it looks like it's going to be real close. And this is with 12 ounces of coffee, Mexico Chiapas. The KPA is at 1 1/4 now, and the airflow is at about 3 3/4. So we're almost ready to hit 320 degrees. So it looks like we're going to be right a little under 5.5 minutes. Now at this rate, yeah, there it is, 320. So at this rate, we need to determine how long will the mallard or browning phase be. And because it was just a little over 5 minutes, we'd like for it to be about 3 minutes or 30% of the roast. And according to Artisan, it's telling me at the rate we're going, if I want to take it up to 400, it's going to be closer to 4 minutes. So I may decide at this point that I actually need to bump up my airflow. I'm just going to bump it up a little bit to 1.5. I mean, not my airflow, my gas pressure to 1.5. I'm also going to bump my airflow up to 5. See if that helps with the momentum. And what you always want to keep an eye on is that your bean temperature is constantly rising. You never want it to stall out. And it's rising at a fairly slow pace, but we may have to bump up the airflow a little more. If you can see, it's a nice light brown. We're at 342 degrees, 6 minutes, 53 seconds. So if we go to 8.5 minutes to end the drying phase, the mallard phase, that's about where I'd like to go. And to be honest with you, it looks like we're going to need to bump up the gas a little more. So I'm going to bump it up to 1 3/4 KPA, and I'm actually going to bump up my airflow to about 5.5 and see if that affects the rate of rise. In the predictive feature in Artisan, it's not showing much of a difference. I'm going to bump it up to 2. See how that works. I can see a little bit faster rate of rise, but it looks like my browning phase might be a little longer than I want it to be. So I'm going to actually bump up my gas to 2.5.